footprint project. Yeah, it was a group project. And now we see that climate change is increasingly becoming a concern to most people, and it's becoming a threat to the whole world. And now from our research, we found out that food production is responsible for a quarter of the world's greenhouse gases emissions. And an example of such gases is carbon dioxide. Emissions such as carbon dioxide eventually result to now the climate change. So, our diet and food choices have a significant impact on carbon footprint. So, it is our responsibility to kind of make the right decisions in terms of the food we eat, to kind of hinder the climate change from increasingly just becoming a problem. For our analysis, we had a data set. It had examples of food and their CO2 emissions, consumption, and also now the countries. So we did an analysis. We compared the different diets in terms of carbon dioxide emissions, and we also were able to identify the types of food which generate the highest carbon dioxide emissions. So yeah. When we got the data, we cleaned up the data and we checked for accuracy, completeness, consistency, currency, relevancy, and uniqueness, just to make sure that our data is okay and ready for analysis. So for the first, our first task was to uh, analyze the average CO2 emission per person by food category among the 5 countries located in East Africa. So we started off with Kenya. So this is the graph that we came up with. So from our graph, we found out that beef had the highest CO2 emissions per person, and followed by milk, and then lamb and goat. Then soya beans had the lowest average CO2 emissions, then poultry, then pork. Yeah, then for Tanzania, we also found out that beef had the highest CO2 emissions, then milk, then lamb and goat, and also for the lowest, soybeans had the lowest, followed by eggs, then pork. Then for Uganda, okay, we realized that these results were kind of repetitive for the 5 countries. So also for Uganda, beef had the highest, milk the second highest, and lamb the third highest, soybeans first, followed by eggs and poultry. Then for Rwanda, had the highest. In this case, lamb and goat was the second highest, rice was the third highest. And okay, in this case also, egg was the lowest, had the lowest, soybeans second lowest, and peanut butter the third lowest. Ethiopia, same case, beef the highest, followed by milk, then followed by lamb and goat. Then for this we had pork, soybeans, and eggs. Okay, now for from the analysis of the average CO2 emission among the countries, we realized that there was kind of a trend whereby beef, um, milk and lamb poultry that were the animal food products tend to reach the a high CO2 levels compared to stuff like soybeans, pork, eggs, and peanut butter. So our next step was to get the difference between consumption and emissions in food products. So that's our graph. Uh-huh. So the blue bars represent the CO2 emission, the orange bars represent the consumption, the food consumption, and the green represent the difference. So now, so from our analysis, we realized that beef had the highest difference between consumption and CO2 emission. But the thing is, the CO2 emission was more than the consumption by the 61.98. Yeah. And also, lamp and goat also showed that there was a big difference between consumption and CO2. In some case, CO2 emission was more than the consumption. But on the other hand, wheat and wheat products, they also had a big difference between consumption and CO2 emission. But in this case, the CO2 emission was less than the consumption. And eggs, soybeans had a very small difference. It was barely noticeable between now the consumption and CO2 emission. So the food categories that had most CO2 emission and consumption were beef, lamb and goat, the milk, ink, cheese, pork, fish, rice, nuts, peanut butter, and poultry. And the food categories that had less CO2 emission than food consumption were soybeans, eggs, wheat, and wheat products. So Vinny, I think Vinny can continue from there.
Well, okay, hello. I hope you can hear me. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Vinny.
Okay, okay. So, okay, our next task was to check out the food consumption of animal and non-animal products on the impact of carbon footprints. So, from our analysis, we found that animal-based products will account for more amounts of CO2 emissions compared to non-animal food products. Okay, CO2 also emissions from most plant-based were much lower than compared to the other counterpart animal-based products. So that was very simple and it was very clear. And our next task was also to compare. Okay, we were to plot a box plot and interpret the CO2 emissions and their contributions on food levels. So we found out that animal-based products account for large amount of CO2 emissions compared to non-animal food products. We also found that CO2 emissions from most plant-based food were much lower compared to animal-based foods. So for overall, so in our conclusion, uh, we found that beef. Okay, we found that animal-based foods use more resources and have higher carbon footprint than plant-based diets. So we found out that okay, we can see from our past tax that the beef consumption see the hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you
Yes, we can
clearly,
hear you,
Vinny.
Vinny.
Okay. But I have a problem with my machine, so I'm using my phone. Yeah, so we made a conclusion that animal-based foods use more resources and have higher carbon footprint compared to plant-based diets. So it's obvious now that us as humans need to think about how we consume our food and always choose to eat and stay healthy. So our problem at first was I think for this project it seems like we were trying to look at how carbon emission affects our climate change. So from the background we were given, let's say the climate change is at the center of boardroom discussion on how the increase and regulation will impact businesses and how they can capitalize on this to be sustainable in the future and not treat is as an obstacle to growth. So it was now our task to determine how businesses take action to control maybe carbon emissions, what are their steps to minimize them, or even what are their future steps to doing. So you find that each of diverse businesses have committed to implement strategies to reduce emission in its operation or their supply chains. So some even focus on procuring or investing renewable energy, such as wind and solar power, while others are focusing on efficiently producing their goods and services. For instance, oil and gas companies are also taking steps to reduce their climate impact. Such as I think, for example, Shell in the last few years they have launched a program which can reduce its net carbon footprint. It seems like it recognizes the company needs not only to reduce operational emission but also those associated with the use of its products. Um, Other companies, maybe like auto manufacturers, are going to produce more electric vehicles in the near future to improve the efficiency of their product manufacturing. For example, General Motors has committed to use maybe 100% renewable energy by maybe in the near future around 2050, while they invest in this solution so that they can reduce their emission associated with its thermal load. So this is actually part of an environmental challenge. I recently saw, even from what I check and look at websites, I found out that Toyota plans to eliminate even CO2 emission in its operation and their supply chain, which they are trying to integrate recycling materials into the production of new vehicles. Also, the financial sector are not left behind, as they are also setting bold climate goals by both investing in environmental programs and leveraging their own industry sustainable financing of clean energy solutions. So, as a conclusion, I think business. Okay, this was our main problem. We were trying was about measuring how businesses approach this issue of CO2 emission and how to reduce their effects on environmental climate change. So without voluntary business action, reducing carbon emission will be much more difficult. So businesses are seem to be playing a crucial role in in a functioning society, and the fact that they take initiative to create their own policies make them key players in fighting this climate crisis. Not only do these companies do work to prioritize climate, but they also aim to capitalize on the low carbon economy while also benefiting their customers and then their world on climate change. So I think that was much we found from what we did from our analysis. Uh, and that is the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vinny and Jacqueline. That was a very, very good presentation. And even better thanks for you guys sticking within the 15 minutes so that you allow for a good time for questions and comments. I can open it up to people to ask their questions. Don't throw off your slides yet. Just leave them there for a start so that people can ask questions in. Is there anyone who wants to get us started? Awesome. So I'll start us off
Yes.
as we.
Okay, sorry. Just go ahead.
Okay, Sasa. And then I'll start us off, and then Chris will come in with the question. So I did like the presentation. I think you guys have hit out on a very, very significant issue in the world today. I think there's a huge portion of the vegan movement that's influenced by should we be moving off of meat based, right? It's using a lot of resources. It's still a significant environmental polluter. You could also talk about the whole animal brutality stuff, but I know you guys took an environmental angle to this. Cool. This is my only question to you. Probably not the only one, but rather because I've seen a lot of arguments that come down to this. The question to you guys is there a possibility of you expanding your data analysis to look at the sort of nutrients we can get from meat, right, as compared to plant-based products, and it's more of a concentration thing. And if you guys can also compare that to cost, because most of the time when you talk about this sort of environmental pollution, it's not just about beef being the biggest polluter. It's about what nutrients am I getting from beef to warrant more pollution than, let's say, your plant-based product. If you guys are able to make a comparison and show that the nutrients you're getting from either is about the same when you talk about protein in the same place, or when you talk about land usage, because all these grazing lands would go to waste if we're not consuming livestock in the first place as well. If you guys are able to bring it down to a nutrient comparison and argue it out that plant-based products are giving us pretty much the same nutrients, if more, or like there's not a big gap between them, so it does not warrant extra resources and extra pollution from animal products. But more importantly, I'd also love your analysis to come in and boil it down to cost. Once again, a lot of vegan food that we see out there with people who are still trying to get the meat taste in their body, but not necessarily meat, is usually slightly more expensive. And could there be an analysis of that as well? I don't know whether these are things you guys might have considered, but I just want to throw that question to you in terms of probably suggesting an area of expansion, or getting to hear whether you guys might have gone through this as you were doing your data analysis.
Hello. Hello.
I can hear you well.
Okay. To answer your question, I think the data set we actually had no much information. It only had around 4 columns, so we didn't have much information of maybe concerning how the nutrients land. Something maybe we could have done that. Hello.
Yes, I can hear you very,
Yeah.
very well. So I understand with the data set, probably the big challenge for you guys is expanding the project to the next level by probably looking at data sets that look at different foods and their nutrients levels. And then, you can combine the data sets and then do like an even more elaborate data analysis. I do love what you guys have come up with. I think there'd still be a gap if you're not able to bring in that nutrients comparison. I don't know what other people feel, but that was my feeling in regards to the project. Very, very good presentation, I must say.
Okay. I think I echo the same sentiments. The presentation was good. And yeah, your considerations that Cyril has just mentioned are things you can make to just improve your presentation and tell more bit of story with the data that you have. That way, you're driving more change and you're actually providing solutions. What I can say rather is an addition is trying to map your data, because what we can see around the world is the food carbon footprint in Western countries are a bit higher than, let's say, those in African and the developing world, when at the same time the effects of climate change are disproportionately mostly affecting the lower income countries. And so with through mapping this data, perhaps we can see the differences in, let's say, agricultural practices. So we know maybe the Scandinavian countries might be consuming more beef, but maybe their means of production for the beef and milk are a bit more sustainable in the short term. And those are some of the things that now you can read through to understand what makes the difference between consumption and emission so significant, or so significantly lower in certain countries compared to these other countries. So just having a gist of what is the root cause of this high CO2 emissions per consumption amount across the different types of economies around. So yeah.
Any additional questions or comments? I think questions or comments are welcome. Could be a question, or you want them to explore a new area to approach the project. As you're waiting for the next question, I think Bratipa's team should be preparing. I think Bratipa is a scrum master for that team. So let's just get set for that. Cool. So it seems like there's no other question. I did really love the presentation. The only additional comment I would state is at times I think it's always good to state some of the challenges you faced when you're working with the data. Also, when you're talking to a technical audience, like the audience you're talking to at times, which might end up being where you present most of your things. Also, talking about the sort of technologies you used when you're doing your data analysis might also help. So that's like the most minor thing I could say right now. But probably, yeah, in a future presentation, particularly the machine learning ones for the next module, it would be nice to talk about some of the technologies you used and where you faced in challenges, whether it was database or whether it was technology based as well. Okay, so if you're not able to take out anything from that presentation, probably the big thing that Jacqueline and Vinny are telling us is before you take in your next piece of meat, you need to think about how much pollution you're pushing out to the environment and how much resources you're consuming. Probably you're okay taking in bins. I don't know, Vinny and Jacqueline, whether that's the perfect conclusion for this. You can correct me, but I think even for those who've not understood the underlying data, that's probably something we can take in home. That it's nice we start shifting our diets to more plant-based focus because data does support that meat consumption is a bit too wasteful and at the same time too much of a pollutant. It's now 11:39. I'll let Bretipa's team start their projection. So feel free to start projecting, and then we'll start at exactly 11:40. I like that we are time efficient. And there's also an update. I think we don't have a presentation from the people who are meant to be third. So after Bratipa's team, we'll go ahead straight to Kristin's team. Kristin, are you Scrum Master? Kristin, Gable, and Felix. That's the team. I don't know who's the Scrum Master there, but we'll see. But you guys get prepared. You'll be presenting from 12 noon still.
Okay, hello everyone. Hello everyone, can you hear me?
Hello, Bratipa, we can hear you. I'll speak for everyone. Sao.
Okay, let me start presenting. We're presenting as a team of Winnie, Ben, and me. We're working on a website that is called photography website. I'm ready to close. Okay, kindly tell me if you don't see my screen, and then we'll know what to do. So, as I was saying, we are doing a photography website. This is what we are going on. And we were a team of Ben, who was working on the Figma design, Wayne, who was working on the styling of the CSS and the wireframes, and me, who was working on the HTML code, and now this, the presentation. So the photography website, the reason why we came up with it was to be able to appreciate nature in its all encompasses, and so that's, and even we created it for the users, for the photographers and for the users, both all in all, because it is supposed to be a photography studio where you can go and see the pictures that our team's photographers have taken, and maybe you can access them, yeah, without unlimited storage and without unlimited time. Yeah, that is what we were talking about. And on more focus, it was more on the branding part, because as a photography studio, we want other agencies to integrate with us during their events, and maybe even models and model agencies. So yeah, and I was saying the target audience that we are capturing out in this company is photographer enthusiasts, the people who love photography. They can come to our site and just level at the art of photography, and the events managers in the companies of can you hear me?
Bratipa, we can hear you. Just a small question. Are you using earphones?
Yes.
Could you just, if you can opt out of earphones,
Yes.
because I think the mic has a small problem.
Okay, can you hear me right now?
I think it should be better.
Okay. So as I was saying, the target audience that we are drawing up for all these the photography enthusiasts, the events managers, the companies, and each organization that is interested in branding their own, and traveling agencies for getting pictures for the nature, and model agencies for taking people's pictures, portraits, and everything that comes with it. So we use the languages that we used in making this website was HTML that you're using to code the elements, the components, the divs, the navigation, the filters, and CSS that we used CSS together with Bootstrap that we used in animating text, and it can encompass the designing. So we faced some challenges because the images are currently that are in market they're not such good images, and some couldn't fit our current idea or maybe our future idea that we want. So maybe sometime maybe we'll have to go back to graphic design, or just have to really squeeze on the images and find something that are to our idea. And another thing is the CSS and HTML animation, because it reaches a point maybe somewhere yes, you have the design, yes, you have the code, but you need more, like you need to have a JavaScript maybe for a button to go somewhere. But then now you're limited to using an href link because it's only HTML and CSS. So maybe after we start reading JavaScript, then maybe it will be better. So, sorry. So our future goal is to add a download feature whereby the users can be able to download the images. We also want to have a login feature whereby a user can have an account, and maybe they could even store their images on their account, and even after that account they can also be able to pay the photographers who took the pictures. And also have we also have a feature of having additional images, like very many photographers, so that each person who's coming to our website can be able to have a wide variety of choices. And lastly, we want to have a blog whereby we'll be stating a story behind every picture, and then that means that we'll draw a lot of people and also the enthusiasts. So that was what we had for our presentation. Let me get out of this link so that I can show you actually the website. Can you tell me if you stop seeing my screen? So this is the website that we created. As you can see, this is the landing page. We have our logo, the home, and the about us, the portfolio, and the contact, and then the banner whereby we just see who we are with 7 years of excellence, and if you want to hire us, sorry.
No, it's fine now. It's fine now. We were not seeing the screen before for the website, but it's fine now.
Okay. So, as I was saying, if you actually press on the button for hires, it will take you to the contact, because currently we don't have the the JavaScript and everything in the payment section. So then we go to the about us, where we explain who we are, explain our vision, which is to engage and make the crowd aware of the beauty and the surrounding, and just saying and capturing your attention as you go by. And then now we have the portfolio where you have the images. Um, we've not really done any much about the images right now, because you can only just see the images. But as you hover, they zoom. Is it in or out? I'm not really sure, but I think it's zoom out. They zoom out, so you're able to know which image maybe you want. And then for the contact section, whereby you can be able to reach us through our name or address or our email, or maybe just write a message to us, maybe Bratipa, and email us and a message, and then you send it to us. But right now it's not active because the limitations. And yeah, then the footer, and that's it. Okay, I'll invite Wemi to take you through the wireframe and the Figma design. Wemi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Just a moment.
Okay, take on. You can wait for as she starts presenting a screen.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, you can see a screen.
So before we had the coding the whole website, first of all, we created wireframes so that you can have an idea of how we wanted the website to be. So so sorry. So this is our website, our wireframe where we created. It has a banner section, a board section, the projects, and the contacts. So mainly we use this to give us an idea of how we wanted the layout of the website, how we wanted the website to look. Then again after that, we went to Figma to give us an idea of the colors, the the features, the like when so that when we're using it when we're going to css to style the figma will be it should be helpful to know the what we want to use on the website. So if the figma is the home section, the about, the projects, and the contacts. Also, it helped us to know the font family, the colors of the background, the colors of the font size, and the headings. Yeah. So mainly Figma was just to give us the idea to create an idea of how the website would be if it was coded and it had been styled, so that when we go to the CSS to to the HTML and CSS would not be easy. We just followed the Figma. Yeah. So this is the Figma and this is the wireframe. Yeah, that's all.
So yeah, thank you everyone. That was our presentation for everything. We accept any feedbacks. On the chat is the GitHub link. You can go and check it out and maybe see how we made the README and everything out. So thank you so much to everyone. Back to you, Siri.
For sure. Thank you very much, Bratipa Wemi. I think you had a third team member. I wish we would have had from him as well. Cool. So first of all, let's just get general comments. Go ahead, Ben.
Hello, Cyril. Okay, for the major parts of the project, I think they already explained everything about the wireframes and the actual code. So if you if you have any questions, you can just forward them to us. We can just get in touch with you. But no more comments to add right now. Okay, back to you, Cyril.
For sure. Thank you very much. Cool. I think Chris, you have a question. I can see you unmuted. Go ahead.
Not more of a question, just a comment that I think it's a wonderful idea because uh, it's a problem and it's a challenge you're trying to solve, which I've experienced personally, and the way you've framed it to more of focus on how to appreciate nature. Sometimes you might be doing some graphic designs, and so your only options to download local content is the Unsplash and perhaps even buy through some, let's say, international stores. But having this will just bring that potential of localizing the content. And slowly by slowly, if people just adopt this kind of mindset, then we'll have our own local pictures to buy from, to attribute, or to give some credit to some photographer in an easily accessible way.
Thank you very much, Chris, for that comment. I think it's quite helpful. I also felt the same way in terms of the value to the local market. I think anyone who's tried building a website or even doing anything on social media where you're working with free open source content, you do realize it's usually Western based and it's very hard to get relatable things for locals. So thank you very much, Chris, for reiterating that. I don't know that we have additional comments as well. Any comments, any questions as well? Cool. Bratipa, I don't know that you can go ahead and present your homepage.
Okay, a minute.
For sure. And I would also suggest to the team that if you can share your github.io link so that people don't have to always go straight to your code. I think it's nice for those of us who are well familiar with HTML, CSS, you can check out that code. For those of us who are not and probably just want to look at the final output, probably that github.io link should be more helpful. Okay, so if you have a comment, just let me know as soon as possible. Cool. So I just wanted to give feedback in regards to a design perspective. And so far, so good. There's a couple of things I really liked about your projects. One, it's the simplicity of content. I think the biggest thing with some of these websites that solve a particular issue, there's a problem you're solving, right? There's a clear target customer that you're going for, is making everything as simple as possible so that people get whatever they want. So there's that. And one thing that I really liked a lot was that color scheme. I think the green goes well with the white pretty well. I think if you scroll down probably to the about page, that's when you start seeing that color blend being the best. I think the one thing that you guys really did well with the design was getting a very clean color palette. That was a very, very clean color palette, a very, very good one. And it fits that simple vibe quite well. I'll give you that. And I like how you guys approached the spacing. Now I want you to scroll down on that homepage a bit. And just scroll down that homepage a bit. I'll try open the github.io link on my side.
Let me see.
I can't see the scroll.
Okay.
So I think when I'm on your github.io, I can see it's a one-page site where you have about, so it just scrolls down. Are they different pages? It just scrolls down. Okay. Here's what I'd suggest. I don't know how much industry research you guys have done onto other photography websites. But most of the time when you think about your solid photography website, just keep the website there. This is what I would suggest. If you go to Unsplash or Pexels, or even go to Dribble, which is not necessarily a photography website, but it is a portfolio website, you tend to see that the focus of those websites are very different from the focus of a business website. They would not have the best photography studio in the market or the higher us at the banner. Usually you want to give more focus to that portfolio. So whenever you go to a photography website, you want the first thing that people are able to capture is that masonry portfolio. You can just have your grid of images starting to scroll down. I know right now you don't have images. You can have placeholders. You can get these placeholders from a place like Pexels or Unsplash for a start as well. So there's that. So I would suggest that you just have that sort of picture flow going from the beginning. It does really, really help. And then when someone clicks on a photo, that's when you can have that call to action. Because once again, you're trying to look at customer psychology here. Customers want to see exactly what you guys are producing before they think of hiring you when it comes down to a photography field. So if your entire website is just a good structure of your best images out there, and when they click on one image, they're able to see an image in full, and then that's when you articulate the call to action. I think when you start using platforms such as Dribble and Splash or Pexels, you start seeing this strategy working out. And the reason why all of them take up the same strategies because they've done a lot of data analysis in terms of how consumers approach their sites, and that was the highly converting approach. Cool. In the future, I saw your plans was to take in PayPal payments. I think this is a project that we can easily support you on the entrepreneurial side to see how you can boost up your product and also try to make it market ready, because I think this is a problem that people are facing. However, I would suggest the only way such a platform would be popular is by trying to focus on open source photography for a start. And then you can have a faction for premium photography for clients who already like the open source stuff. Now, monetizing open source is usually a bit hard. So probably you guys should start thinking about how you can start adding in Google AdSense to your site, so that in your portfolio, and this is why I'm really suggesting the portfolio approach. After every 3 images, the 4th image is an image, but more of an ad as well. Right, so you can don't try to make it blend in with your design. So that's something that I would suggest when it comes out to the monetization of a photography site, particularly early on, so that all you guys do is make time to improve the product, get more photos on board by involving more photographers as well. If you're able to create an incentive without worrying so much about monetization because you're using Google AdSense, so you're expecting like cash at the end of the day based on your traffic, you'd be able to start paying people for the open source stuff before you start closing in the bigger clients. So that's an angle I'd want you guys to think of, but that's an angle that we could talk about when it comes down to more of the entrepreneurial workshops. So that's probably an approach we can think of for you guys. But so far so good. I really love the minimalism. I still think there's a lot of things to do onto the product just to make it market ready. And looking at Pexels and Splash and Dribble gives you that better idea of the approach. Probably doing JavaScript will help you guys a notch further. Well, I think I talked a lot, but is there any other comment on the call so far? Cool. Bratipa, Ben, Wemi, do you guys have anything else to say?
No, Cyril.
All I can say is that we'll get back to you for the entrepreneurial sector, and thanks for the comments that you've given to us.
Sawa. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we're getting into territory. We're getting into probably the final teams. I don't know. We're really trying to reach out to you guys, but it's a bit difficult. So the next team that we are supposed to present here is supposed to be Gabel, Christine, and Felix. I hope you guys have something, because I know we are still trying to follow up. Cool. I don't know. Who's the Scrum Master on your side? I can see Christine and Felix on the call. I can't see Gabel. Okay, so Gabel is a Scrum Master. Cool. Can you guys take up? I can't see Gabel on the call, so it has to be one of you. Feel free to take us through your project, start projecting whatever you have, and take us through what you guys already have come up with. Christine, Felix, we're waiting for you guys. Cool. Cabral, could you give us an update on the team so that we know whether we should wait or we should close off the call? You guys asking for more time. I think these are things you should be communicating in advance. I think by Friday we need to be knowing whether you want to be presenting or not. That's something we really need to establish there. So, Kristen, just a question to you guys. Do you guys have everything, anything, whether that's Figma wireframes, InVision wireframes, or even just a landing page? Just give me Yes, present that, and then whatever gaps we have there, we can follow up with you after that.
Okay, say I'm trying to connect my machine with a network, so it's kind of misbehaving somehow. So, but let me try this.
Okay, Felix, we're giving you 2 minutes there. Let's try to hurry up a bit. So the other alternative is if Christine can present, right? That should be okay, and then anyone can talk through that presentation. The final option is to send all your presentations to your guide, and then they can present on your behalf, and you guys can just talk through it. Even when you send it to me, I can present it on my side. So there's a couple of options there. Just tell me which one's the more feasible one, and then we can go for it. Okay, so as you're waiting for that, Tim, I think I do love what the teams that have presented have come up with. So what I actually do recommend right now for the data science team, if you guys can think about dropping a Medium blog about something like this, make sure your Medium blog involves some of your code outputs as well. You will get a video of your presentation as well. So I'll just go ahead and split the recording of this workshop so that every team can get a full recording of their presentation, which is something you can embed on your GitHub repo. If you blog about, if people don't want to read through the blog, they can just look at that YouTube video at the top. So those are a couple of options we're taking in up. But both projects, I think, from what we've seen, one has more entrepreneurial value and the other one has more research value. And there's still a lot of areas to explain, a lot of areas to improve, which I would suggest let this not be the last time you're kind of focusing on those projects, because they are very, very valuable from the presentation. I think anyone who's part of this call can go ahead and state that some of the things we've seen from the teams today have been a bit of quality. There's probably a couple of improvements to make. Even if those improvements might be a lot, I think the mere fact that already it looks solid means that you should take your time to work through the improvements so that it can have full market value. So for Jacqueline, Vinny, your team, probably think about dropping in a blog as well. I think getting public comments would be good. Think about making that research a bit open source. Think about adding in some of the things we talked about. For the team that did the web design on photography, I think you guys should still optimize your UI, right? And the best thing is to do more industry research even before doing more Figma frameworks. So whether that's just trying to look at market leaders in that industry so that you're able to have a clearer picture of what are the design standards in the industry when you're doing the development. So that will allow you to take it to the next level, and then the final level for you guys would be how can you start monetizing the project, because there's a lot of angles, whether that's using Google AdSense, buy sell ads. These days it's not like 205 where you had to create your own ad network and get people to pay you. You just use an existing network of an already established company. So there's that angle, and there's the angle of using your portfolio to start getting corporate clients to ask for photography. So I do love what we've had so far, and I hope you guys can keep pushing it to the next level. Cool. Don't know whether anyone else has something to say as we wait for Felix and Kristen. Felix and Kristen, can you get an update? I can see Felix has joined with a new account now. Can you present with that?
Yeah, let me try it.
Okay, Felix, kindly share your screen. Anyone else with comments on what we've seen so far from the students? Okay, I would suggest that you mute and put the volume down on the one that you're not using, Felix, of the two accounts you've joined in, and then feel free to present your screen. Felix, time is not on our side. Kindly give us a quick update.
Uh, okay. Hello.
Okay, so Felix, just do this. Mute the second one, right, and make sure the volume is also 0 if you still want to keep it on the call. So the one that you're not using, mute it, put the volume at 0. Yeah, so only one should be unmuted and only one should have their volume full. That's what I would say.